All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling a topic that's been requested a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, urban prepping.
Interesting.
Getting ready for emergencies. When
Yeah.
you're not,
Yeah.
out in the wilderness, you're in the city,
Uh-huh.
surrounded by concrete and crowds.
Okay.
Our source for this deep dive
All right.
is a guide
Okay.
by a Portuguese prepper.
Interesting. A unique perspective.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Yeah.
Because, cities have their own unique vulnerabilities.
Right.
And this guide kind of digs into how to not just survive, but actually thrive
Okay.
when things go sideways.
Thrive, huh? That's a high bar.
We'll see about that.
Okay.
So we'll be covering everything from unexpected threats you might not have considered
Right.
to practical tips you can use no matter what your living situation is.
Sounds comprehensive.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to dig into this one.
Me too.
So one thing I noticed right off the bat
Okay.
when I was reading this guide,
Yeah.
it doesn't shy away from the harsh realities of city life during a crisis.
Right.
It paints a very clear picture.
Yeah, it lays out the challenges.
Yeah.
But it also provides, knowledge so you can address them head on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't sugarcoat anything,
No.
but it also doesn't leave you feeling hopeless.
That's good. A balance.
Yeah. One example that really stuck with me
Okay.
was the earthquake scenario.
Okay.
The guide points out that in a city, you're not just dealing with the shaking itself,
Uh-huh.
but also the potential for fires
Oh, right.
spreading, rapidly
Yes.
through tightly packed buildings,
Right.
transportation systems shutting down,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and escape routes becoming choked with people.
Oh, yeah, I see.
So it's more than just the initial disaster.
It's the ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Sense.
And I think that's where
Okay.
understanding the underlying factors kind of comes in.
Okay, so why are these things worse in a city?
Yeah, cities are incredibly dense, reliant on these complex systems.
Right.
And problems can cascade much faster
That's true.
than in less populated areas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, take a health crisis, for
Yeah.
example.
Right.
We all saw what a pandemic could do.
Right.
But even a severe flu season
Oh, yeah.
could overwhelm city hospitals.
Right.
And there's the food supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
Most cities operate on this,
Yeah.
just-in-time model.
Right. Get it when you need it.
Right. So any disruption could quickly lead to shortages.
Oh, wow. Hadn't thought of that.
Makes you want to check your pantry. Right?
Yeah. Maybe I should stock up a bit.
So to kind of break things down,
Okay.
the guide lays out 5 main categories of emergencies to think about.
All right. 5 main categories.
Yeah, and some of the usual suspects,
Yeah. Right.
like natural disasters,
Right.
earthquakes, floods, hurricanes.
Uh-huh. The classics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the guide really drives home the importance of knowing your city's specific risks.
Okay, so are you in a flood zone?
Yeah,
Are certain storms more likely?
exactly.
Right, so it's tailoring your preps to where you actually live.
That's exactly it.
Makes sense.
It's about tailoring your preps to your actual environment.
Yeah.
It's not just about
Right.
having a generic emergency kit.
Okay.
It's about knowing what's most likely to happen
Right.
where you live
Uh-huh.
and being prepared for that.
Makes sense.
So the guide then goes on to discuss civil unrest,
Oh, okay.
which is particularly relevant in urban environments.
Yeah, you got a lot of people
Right.
together.
Protests can escalate quickly.
Right.
Escape routes
Yeah.
become limited,
Mm-hmm.
and the potential for widespread disruption is much higher.
You're right. You're right. It's a reminder that preparedness isn't just about,
Yeah.
natural disasters.
Right.
It's social and political too.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And then there are the threats that might not be as obvious,
Oh, okay.
but are just as important to consider,
Like what?
like cybersecurity threats.
Oh, interesting.
The guide uses the term digital hostage.
Digital hostage.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of scary.
It's a pretty chilling way to describe
Yeah.
what could happen if someone hacked the power grid
Right.
and suddenly everything from traffic lights
Wow.
to hospitals could be down.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
It's a
Okay.
It's a reminder of how reliant we are
Yeah.
on systems that might not be
Right.
as secure as we think.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a sobering thought for sure.
It is.
And while statistically less frequent, the guide also acknowledges terrorism
Okay.
as a potential threat, particularly given that cities are often seen as,
Yeah.
symbolic targets.
Right. I get it.
Okay, so we've got a pretty comprehensive list now
Yeah.
of what could go wrong.
Yeah.
The good news is
Okay.
the guide provides some solid advice on what to do about it.
All right.
And it starts with essential gear,
Okay.
the Urban Prepper's Toolkit.
The toolkit. Gotta have the tool.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
We all know the basics, right?
Okay.
Food, water,
Yep.
first aid supplies, flashlight,
Right.
multi-tool.
Uh-huh.
But the guide takes it a step further
Okay.
and
All right.
offers specific recommendations for city dwellers.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. For example, when it comes to food and water, the guide emphasizes non-perishable items,
Okay.
things that are easy to store
Yeah.
in a small apartment and have a long shelf life.
Right.
Think canned goods, dried fruits, protein bars,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Okay.
It's about practicality and space optimization.
You're not exactly prepping for a wilderness retreat here.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Another thing the guide stresses
Okay.
is having a communication lifeline.
Right.
That means power banks to keep your devices charged
Okay.
and exploring alternative charging methods,
Like what?
like solar chargers.
Oh, right.
After all, in a city, information is crucial during an emergency.
Right.
And it's all too easy to get cut off if the power goes down.
That's true.
Beyond the basic kit,
Okay.
the guide highlights a couple of additional items that are particularly crucial for urban preppers.
All right.
Water purification is a big one.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
City water systems can be disrupted.
Right.
So having a portable water filter or purification tablets on hand could be a lifesaver.
Yeah, especially if you're stuck at home for a while.
Right. And if you're anything like me, the thought of eating cold beans out of a can for days on end is not appealing.
I hear that.
So that's why the guide recommends fire starting tools.
Oh,
It's not just for warmth.
Yeah.
It's about being able to cook if the gas is out.
Right.
Plus, let's face it,
Yeah.
a little bit of light in the darkness can do wonders for your morale during a crisis.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it's a psychological thing.
You're right. The psychological aspect of preparedness is often overlooked,
Yeah,
but it's so important.
it is.
Having the means to create even a small sense of normalcy
Right.
can make a huge difference in how well you cope with a stressful situation.
Totally. Yeah.
But remember, preparedness isn't just about gathering stuff.
Right.
It's about having a plan.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah, let's get into the specifics.
Great.
The guide actually breaks down tactics for different types of natural disasters.
Okay.
And there's some really insightful advice tailored to city living.
Interesting, Art.
For instance, take earthquakes.
Okay.
We've all heard drop, cover, and hold on.
Right.
Get under a sturdy desk or table.
Yeah.
But the guide points out that in a high-rise,
Oh, yeah.
you might not want to be anywhere near a window
Oh.
when glass starts shattering.
Makes sense. You don't want to be under a giant window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes you rethink those seemingly simple instructions, doesn't it?
It does. It highlights the need to adapt general advice to your specific surroundings.
Right.
Another example that comes to mind is flooding.
Okay.
We've all seen images of city streets turning into rivers.
Oh, yeah?
The guide's advice.
Okay.
Never drive or walk through flood water.
Right. It seems obvious.
Yeah.
But in a city, it's even more dangerous because you have no idea what's lurking beneath the surface.
Open manholes, debris, downed power lines. It's a recipe for disaster.
And it's not just the obvious dangers like drowning, right? What
Right.
about the contamination?
Oh, yeah.
City floodwater is basically a toxic soup.
Exactly. You want to avoid contact at all costs.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, shifting gears to hurricanes and tornadoes. The guide stresses finding shelter in a sturdy building.
Right.
And going underground if possible.
Okay.
But I'm curious,
Yeah.
what do you think qualifies as a sturdy building in a city?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
Um,
Would a modern glass and steel high-rise be a good choice? Or would an older brick building be better?
I'd probably feel safer in that solid brick building.
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider beforehand because knowing your surroundings could be crucial in a fast-moving situation.
For sure.
Absolutely. And even if you can't go underground,
Right.
being on a lower floor away from windows is a good strategy.
Makes sense.
Then for severe storms,
Okay.
the guide emphasizes something that's often overlooked:
Okay.
unplugging electronics.
Oh, right.
Why do you think that's so important,
Mm.
especially in a city environment?
Well, I'm guessing it has something to do with power surges, right?
Yeah,
Cities often have older power grids,
yeah,
and a lightning strike could fry your electronics.
you're exactly right.
Plus, during an emergency, you're going to be more reliant on those devices for information.
Yeah.
So you want to protect them.
It's a small step that can save you a lot of trouble and expense later on.
Makes sense.
But let's move on from natural disasters to a different kind of threat
Okay.
that's especially relevant in urban areas: civil unrest and crime.
Yeah, right.
This is where the guide takes on a more tactical tone,
Okay.
but it's all about awareness, not paranoia.
Right. We're not trying to turn anyone into a vigilante.
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways from this section?
Well, the guide emphasizes the importance of staying informed.
Okay.
Monitor local news, pay attention to what's happening in your neighborhood,
Right.
and tap into those hyper-local sources,
Yeah.
like neighborhood social media groups or online forums.
Right.
That's often where you'll get the most up-to-date information on what's actually happening on your street.
And those groups can be really helpful for sharing information and resources during an emergency, too. Yeah, I've heard of people using those for everything from finding lost pets to organizing neighborhood cleanup efforts.
Exactly. There's a real sense of community there.
Yeah.
Another point the guide makes is about avoiding crowds,
Okay.
which, let's face it, is easier said than done in the city.
Yeah, that's true.
How can people realistically apply that advice?
Mhm.
It's about recognizing the signs of trouble before it escalates into a full-blown riot. Is there tension in the air?
Yeah.
Are people starting to gather in an agitated way?
Right.
The guide encourages you to trust your gut and remove yourself from the situation if something feels off.
Makes sense.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
And if you can't avoid a potential threat altogether?
The guide talks about securing your fortress,
Oh, okay.
your apartment in this case.
Right.
Reinforcing doors and windows is doable even if you're renting.
Okay.
Think sturdy deadbolts,
Yeah.
reinforcing door frames,
Uh-huh.
maybe even removable security bars for windows.
Interesting.
It's about adding layers of protection. Right.
To make your home a less appealing target.
It's about deterrence as much as anything else.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then there's the concept of situational awareness,
Right.
which is essentially paying attention to your surroundings.
Right.
In a city, it's easy to tune everything out.
Oh, yeah, you're constantly bombarded with stimuli.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But being aware of who's around you,
Right.
what's going on,
Yeah.
and trusting your instincts can make a huge difference in your safety.
It's like having a mental radar scanning for potential threats.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
The guide also touches on de-escalation tactics.
Oh, interesting.
But as it points out,
Yeah.
that's a whole other skill set that deserves its own deep dive.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe something for a future episode.
I like it.
The main takeaway is that sometimes the best way to stay safe is to avoid confrontation altogether.
That's a good point. Now, speaking of crucial skills,
Okay.
let's talk about communication.
Right.
In a city where rumors can spread like wildfire.
Having reliable communication is your lifeline.
It is, yeah.
What does the guide recommend?
The guide suggests having multiple communication options.
Okay.
A portable radio is still relevant.
Oh.
It can receive emergency broadcasts even if the power is out.
Right.
And if you're looking for a radio,
Yeah.
I'd suggest finding a hand crank model,
Oh, interesting.
so you don't have to worry about batteries.
That's a great tip. I hadn't even considered that.
What about other options?
Yeah, like what else is out there?
Well, the guide also mentions walkie-talkies,
Oh, okay.
which can be a fun and practical way to coordinate with your neighbors
Right.
during an emergency.
Yeah.
It's about creating those local networks of support
Right.
that can be so valuable in a crisis.
It's like having your own neighborhood communication system.
Exactly.
That's cool.
And of course, social media plays a role.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But the guide emphasizes responsible use.
Okay.
Verify information before spreading it. Avoid posting anything that could contribute to panic.
Yeah.
and focus on being a source of calm and accurate information.
That's so important.
It is.
Sharing a funny meme is one thing, but spreading misinformation during an emergency can have serious consequences.
Absolutely.
Now let's get back to securing our urban sanctuary.
Okay.
I'm curious,
Yeah.
what are some practical tips for apartment dwellers,
Yeah.
especially renters who might not be able to make major modifications to their homes?
That's a great question. The guide acknowledges that some of its advice needs to be adapted for city living.
Okay.
Reinforcing entry points is still a good idea,
Right.
even if you can't install bars on your windows.
Yeah.
Simple things like reinforcing door frames with longer screws,
Okay.
using a doorstop alarm,
Uh-huh.
or even just placing a heavy object in front of the door can make a difference.
Those are great tips, and I think they highlight how you don't need to spend a lot of money or make major renovations to improve your security.
Exactly. You don't need to break the bank to improve your security.
Yeah. Another simple but effective strategy the guide mentions is illuminating your surroundings.
Oh, okay.
A bright flashlight pointed out the window can deter someone who's thinking about breaking in.
Right.
Plus, in a power outage, it's obviously a necessity.
It's amazing how such a simple thing can make such a big difference.
It really is. And
What
finally,
is-
let's not forget about securing valuables.
Right.
This isn't just about money. It's about irreplaceable documents, medications, anything you absolutely can't afford to lose.
Yeah, okay.
The guide suggests a fireproof safe box,
Okay.
and you can find portable models that are perfect for apartments.
So we've covered a lot of ground here, from earthquake preparedness to securing our apartments.
We have.
But there's one more crucial aspect of urban prepping that we haven't touched on yet. Community.
Oh, right.
The guide emphasizes that in a city, collaboration is key.
It is, yeah.
It's about moving away from that lone wolf prepper image
Yeah,
and embracing the power of numbers.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a different way of thinking about preparedness. That's such an important point. In an urban environment, you're surrounded by people,
Right.
and that's a resource.
Exactly.
The guide encourages joining local prepper groups,
Oh, interesting.
which might surprise you, but they're popping up more and more in cities.
Right.
Sharing resources, skills, and information is invaluable.
It's like a neighborhood watch group, but with a focus on self-reliance and preparedness.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
What are some of the benefits of joining these groups?
Well, you can pool resources to buy supplies in bulk,
Okay.
share knowledge and skills,
Yeah.
and practice emergency drills together.
Right.
It's also a great way to get support and advice from people who understand the unique challenges of prepping in a city.
That makes a lot of sense. And beyond joining formal groups,
Yeah.
what are some other ways to tap into that community aspect of prepping?
The guide talks about sharing knowledge and skills with your neighbors.
All right.
Maybe you're good at first aid.
Yeah.
Your neighbor's a mechanic. Someone else is a gardening whiz. It's about recognizing that everyone has something to contribute.
It's about creating a web of interdependence,
Exactly.
which is much stronger than any individual effort. I really like that idea.
Me too. And to take that a step further, the guide suggests organizing community preparedness events.
Oh, okay.
It might sound daunting,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to be a huge production. It
Yeah.
could be as simple as a block party with a safety theme,
Yeah.
a first aid workshop,
Uh-huh.
or even just a casual get-together to talk about what people are doing to prepare.
It's about starting the conversation,
Yeah.
breaking down those barriers,
Yeah.
and building a sense of collective resilience.
Exactly. And to formalize that city survival buddy system,
Right.
the guide also talks about setting up mutual aid networks.
Okay, what does that involve?
It's about creating a more structured system for supporting each other during an emergency.
Okay.
This could involve things like checking in on elderly neighbors during a heat wave,
Right.
sharing supplies if someone's running low,
Yeah.
or pooling resources to help someone whose apartment was damaged.
It's about recognizing that in a city, we're all in this together.
We're
Helping each other isn't just the right thing to do.
right.
It's the smart thing to do.
Absolutely.
Wow. We've really covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have.
From those unique threats cities face
Right.
to our kits,
Yeah.
escape plans,
Uh-huh.
even community preparedness.
It's been a journey.
It has been a journey.
Yeah.
I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but I'm feeling a lot more confident
Okay.
knowing I can take control of my safety,
Right.
even in the middle of the city.
Yeah, I agree. This guide has been really helpful.
It has.
Practical advice.
Yeah.
For everyone, really.
Not just like hardcore preppers.
Right. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what really struck me was
Okay.
you don't need a bunker
Yeah.
or years of supplies to be prepared.
No.
It's about those small changes
Right.
that make a big impact, you know?
Like what kind of changes?
Like adding a water filter to your kit,
Oh, okay.
mapping escape routes,
Yeah.
or even just talking to a neighbor
Right.
about preparedness.
Makes sense.
Every little bit counts.
Absolutely. So, as we wrap up,
Okay.
I want to leave you with this. Knowing what you know now,
Yeah.
what's one thing you'll do differently
Ooh, that's a good question.
to prepare for an emergency
Yeah.
in your city?
Maybe taking a closer look at my building,
Okay.
seeing if there are any weaknesses,
Right.
or finally getting that hand crank radio.
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I think I'm going to connect with my neighbors more,
Okay.
see about a preparedness group.
I like it.
There's strength in numbers,
There is.
especially in the city.
Yeah, working together can make a real difference.
You can.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Preparedness is ongoing, not just a one-time thing.
Right.
Stay curious, stay informed,
Yeah.
keep learning.
And as always,
Yeah.
we've got tons of resources linked in the show notes
Awesome.
to keep you on that learning journey.
Right.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, stay safe out there
Yeah.
in the concrete jungle.
Oh.